All right, let's get right into it. Have you ever said something in English and even though you know the grammar is right, it just sounds a little off? Well, today we're going to crack the code on that. We're going to look at a few simple rules for nouns and articles that will make your English sound way more natural almost instantly.
So take a look at this sentence. We had a great trip to the France last weekend. You know exactly what that means, right? The message gets across, no problem. But for a native speaker, something about it just clanks a little bit. It doesn't quite flow.
And that's the big question we're tackling today. Why does that sound strange? Stick with me, because by the end of this, you're not only going to know exactly why, but you'll start hearing these little things everywhere.
To solve this puzzle, we need our first key, and that key is all about understanding the difference between stuff we can count and, well, stuff we can't.
It's pretty simple when you break it down. Countable nouns are just things you can stick a number on. 1 job, 2 jobs, 1 chair, 3 chairs. Easy. Uncountable nouns are different. They're usually substances, like water, or abstract concepts, like advice, luggage, or health. You wouldn't say, I have 3 advices for you, would you? It just doesn't work that way.
Now here's where it gets kind of cool. The same word can be both, and it all comes down to context. If you talk about wonderful cheeses, you're talking about different types of cheese, brie, cheddar, Gouda. But if you just ask for cheese, you're talking about the general substance. Same thing with works by an artist. You mean specific paintings versus just plain old hard work. It's all about what you're trying to say.
So what if you really need to count something that's uncountable? Well, there's a trick. You just put it in a container. You can't have an advice, but you can have a piece of advice. You can't have a news, but you can have an item of news. These phrases, like a piece of or a liter of, are like grabbing a bottle or a box to give a shape to something that doesn't have one.
Okay, we've got the whole countable, uncountable thing down. Let's grab our second tool, articles. I want you to think of a, an, and the as a kind of specificity switch. You use it to signal to your listener just how specific you're being.
I love this analogy. The is literally a spotlight. It shines down and points to one specific thing, separating it from everything else. It says, hey, look at this one, the one we both know about. So here's the bottom line. A or an is for introducing something new, one of many possible things. If I ask, have you got a pen? Any old pen will do. But if I say, the pen is on the table, I've flipped on that spotlight. I'm talking about that one specific pen we can both see.
Let's see this in action. Right here, we'd say, she is in a car. We're introducing the car for the first time. It's just one car out of millions in the world, nothing special about it yet.
But now that we've introduced it, we can flip the switch. The car is green. See that? We're now talking about the specific car we're both looking at. We've gone from general to specific, just by changing one little word.
Okay, so we've talked about a, an, and the. But what about when we use nothing at all? This isn't a mistake, you guys. It's actually a very powerful choice, and it has its own meaning. You see, using no article at all, what some people call the zero article, is how you zoom all the way out. It's how you talk about things in the most general sense possible. You're not talking about a specific instance, you're talking about the whole concept.
This side-by-side makes it super clear. I don't like the music my brother plays means you're talking about his specific terrible playlist. But if you say, music helps me concentrate, you're talking about the concept of music in general. The trees in our garden are specific trees, but trees are good for the environment means all trees everywhere. See that pattern? Specific gets the, general gets nothing.
All right, so we've got our 3 main tools in our belt, and now we can start using them to navigate some of those tricky areas, like how we talk about certain places and jobs. This is a classic example, and it's so good. If someone is in hospital with no the, it means they're a patient. They are there for the purpose of the building. But if you say someone works at the hospital, you're just talking about the physical building. That tiny little word completely changes the meaning.
Now, geography rules can feel a little random, I know, but there are definitely patterns. As a general rule, we use the for big collections of things like oceans, rivers, and mountain ranges. But for single things like continents, most countries, and cities, we usually use no article at all. Of course, you get weird exceptions like the United States or The Hague that you just kind of have to remember.
And here's a little lightning round for you. When you're talking about a job, you always need a or an. I'm a doctor. For big organizations, it's usually the UN. For companies, you use nothing, just Apple or Microsoft.
And for the online world, it's the internet, but no article for specific websites like Wikipedia or Facebook.
Okay, the moment of truth. We have assembled all our tools. We understand countable nouns, the specificity switch, and the special cases. It is time to go back to that original sentence and crack this code for good.
Here it is again. Now with your new detective skills, I bet the errors are just jumping out at you, right? We had a great trip to France last weekend. Foods at the hotel weren't so good. Thanks again for the advice.
Let's start with the easy one. Trip to France. Nope. Remember our geography rule? Most countries don't get a the, so we just get rid of it. Trip to France, boom, fixed.
Okay, next up, foods at the hotel. Two things wrong here. First, food is uncountable, so we don't make it plural. It's just food. Second, are we talking about food in general? No, we're talking about the specific food at that specific hotel. So we need our spotlight. The food at the hotel. And finally, thanks again for the advice. This is actually perfect. We're not thanking her for advice in general. We're thanking her for the specific advice she gave us. The spotlight is on.
And here is our final, perfectly natural-sounding message. We had a great trip to France last weekend. The food at the hotel wasn't so good. Thanks again for the advice. See, it's clear, it's correct, and it just flows beautifully. The code is officially cracked.
So the real takeaway here is that these tiny little words we barely think about, the, or even nothing at all, they are doing so much work. They carry a ton of hidden meaning. They really are the secret code to sounding natural in English. So my question to you is this. Now that you know the code, what other patterns are you going to start noticing in the English you hear all around you every single day?